welcome again. We know that you have a lot of different calls that you can participate in, but we thank you for joining this one. We have an action-packed agenda. First, I'm going to start off giving you a brief overview of AnitaB.org. So Anita B is essentially a fearless leader. At AnitaB.org, we envision a future where the people who imagine and build technology mirror the people and societies for whom they build it. So that really aligns with our goal of 50-50 by 2025. We are trying to ensure that we can achieve that. What is the Grace Hopper Celebration? Many of you may be very familiar with Grace Hopper Celebration. That's an annual celebration that's held. It's the world's largest gathering of women technologists. And AnitaB.org partners with ACM in order to produce that celebration. Next, we're going to take a closer look at the local communities. And this is where we actually have our local folks. There's 23 local communities around the globe, and we're a team of virtual volunteers that really bottle up all the momentum that we've gained from GHC, and we offer great programming year-round. And we have folks, thousands of women who are connected and aligned to industry, academic, government, as well as research. So next, this is one area that I'm really super excited about, and that's about our strategic programming, the Technical Executive Engagement Program. That program is designed to engage the executive level through C-suite to offer up great engaging programming as well as career development opportunities and community building. Okay, next I'm going to hand it over to Mazma.
Hello, thank you everyone for joining us this morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. I am Mazma Zahid. I am a leader of Seattle community, and I am super excited to be here today with these great leaders from different organizations. So we'll just jump into the panel, and as Pam mentioned, we have the Slido questions open. We will be monitoring that, and we'll get back to you towards the end of the session and answer those questions. So let's jump into it. First, we have Kimberly Allison Taylor. She is a transformational leader with compelling background of strategy, finance, people leadership, digital engagement, business development, and technology. In her most recent role at Oracle, Kimberly serves as a Global Executive Director of Finance Thought Leadership to promote transformation and digital strategies in organizations of all sizes. Kimberly.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to present today. And I am happy to share my experiences and background. I am standing at the intersection of technology and finance. And so I have been very fortunate to have pursued opportunities with leaders who have believed in me and who have helped me achieve what some would have said would have been impossible. And I'm looking forward to sharing those stories and hearing from my co-panelists.
Awesome. Next, we have Katie Cochran. Katie Cochran is a 20-year veteran of Dell, having held roles across a variety of finance and IT functions. She is currently the Director of IT Infrastructure Services, leading the global business operations, which enable delivery of essential infrastructure services. Hi, Katie.
Hi, so thrilled to be here today. I'm excited to hear about all the great advice. I love the work that Anita B is doing, and I'm just thrilled to be part of the panel.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Hartley. Jessica is the Vice President of Strategy for Instrument, a digital product and innovation company headquartered in Portland, Oregon. She is experienced digital and corporate strategist with 19+ years of experience in collaborating with clients to leverage digital and innovation to transform their businesses by putting people at the center of future experiences. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and honored to be invited. Pamela and I are friends and go back to my days at Accenture, and so I was excited to be asked to be here. And Anybody that knows me knows that my career is not one of following the leader. I chart my own course, and so happy to share any insights and tips on what it's like to forge your own path, and really talk about the intersection of technology and marketing and strategy, and what it's like to be in technology or be technology adjacent and not be a technologist. So happy to be here. Thanks, Mazma.
Awesome. And next we have Christine Aboud. She is the co-owner and Chief Executive Officer of St. Michael's Learning Academy, SMLA, a corporation dedicated to providing innovative educational programs that prepare students to enter their chosen career path or level up their already thriving careers. Christine oversees the operational aspects of SMLA and develops strategic partnerships to grow and strengthen all lines of businesses. How are you doing, Christine?
Hi, I'm doing great. I'm excited about getting out of the routine and being around many leaders that we get to learn and share from each other. I'm so excited that I got to put on my face and put on a jacket that I haven't done in such a long time. I think out of all my peers on the panel, I consider myself one of the youngest in IT, and I'm at the intersection of both technology and education, which is one of the pillars of Anita B, and I'm happy and proud to be on here and hoping that I can give much to you through my experiences and learn as we go with some of our questions and add.
So let's jump into the questions. So I'll just start with a general career journey and your key leadership lessons that you want to share with the audience today. We can start in any order, so maybe we can start with you, Christine.
Yeah, definitely. I guess my career journey started when I first came to America. I'm from a small island, very diverse island in the Caribbean called Trinidad and Tobago. And I came to America to further my education here at the University of Houston at U of H. And I guess since then, I found myself drawn to positions of leadership and roles where I had a platform to inspire those around me, anyone that was going through transition, or where I can give advice or encouragement. Some key leadership lessons that I've learned along the way, that leadership is really more about the role, more about the goal than the role. And I guess I would sum it up truly by simple tasks. It's about constantly reading, listening, and I know this is not simple, but taking massive calculated risks. I think a lot of times as leaders, we're 10 steps ahead trying to make sure that we can navigate whatever threats or whatever risks are there, and how we can kind of maneuver and build strategy around that. So that takes constant reading and listening and looking at past history of performance and calculations.
Great. Katie?
Yeah, for me, I echo some of that same feedback. You know, I started out my career finance and accounting. I spent the first 10 years at Dell in that area. And then I transitioned over kind of unexpectedly to the IT world. And I initially came in from a planning capacity and budget management. But that led to just additional opportunities. And I think for the biggest lesson for me is, with great change comes great opportunity. And that could be a change in role, a change in, you know, the organization structure, a change in business directives. I would say, like, just taking, you know, like you said, calculated risks, but being able to put yourself out there. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. So you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think that's one of the best sort of advice I was given early on in my career. Also, just be a star where you are, right? Take every opportunity that you can and really maximize it. So.
Great. Jessica?
Yes, absolutely. So talking about sort of forging my own path, I went to school, college at Purdue University, go Boilermakers, and majored in journalism because I just knew I wanted to be a TV news reporter, and quickly found out over the course of a few years that that wasn't going to be the right fit for me. But I liked the communications aspect of it. I liked the strategic aspect of it. And I liked the ability to just do things different, and had always been connected to technology. Both of my parents are educators. And so got an amazing opportunity to start with a digital startup. And this was in the dot-com bust, when people were saying, we're not quite sure digital is going to be a thing. Hello, 20 years later, we're still here. And you guys are all here as well. And so learned a lot. It was a small startup. So it was me and a few folks who were 20 years my senior. And went back to school, got my MBA, and said, what next? And what I liked a lot about my first job was the ability to connect with big companies and connect them to customers and start marketing. So went into advertising, worked in advertising and emerging technology for several years, and then said, okay, what next? And moved into consulting. So worked at, went to Sapient and then to Accenture. And that was really amazing to upskill on my business consulting skills and business strategy skills. And then said, okay, what next? And was living in Atlanta and got an amazing opportunity through LinkedIn. So shout out to the power of landing a new job through LinkedIn. It works. I'm here to tell you it works. And took a leap and became the VP of strategy for a mid-sized agency headquartered here in Portland. And I lead a team of 30, and every day am doing amazing work and having a great time. And yeah, it's just been a really amazing experience. And two key lessons I took away, I think I can share, were one, learning what it truly means to be a servant leader, to not worry about how big you are or what power you have, but empowering those that work with you and support you. And through that is true leadership. And I think the other piece is building a true mentor network. We often encounter people at our jobs who kind of take this under their wing, but don't lose those connections. And those are, I think, sort of two big leadership lessons that I've taken away.
Awesome, thank you. Kimberly?
Amazing stories. Awesome. Completely inspiring. So I'm going to share my leadership lessons right up front, and then I'll talk a little bit about my career journey. One of the things I live by is to whom much is given, much is required. And that shows up in so many places, both professionally and personally. And that just means that given those of us who have had the opportunity to be educated, you're already ahead of a lot of people around the world. And so we can't take that for lightly. And especially as a Black woman, I am acutely aware that there are women in other places who have not experienced the same opportunities as I have. And so every chance I get, I try to pay it forward. It's important to lift as I climb. And so most of the things that I do on my own personal time reflect that commitment. I would also say that I've had mentors, coaches, and sponsors. It's really important to understand brand management and what executive presence means, and we can talk for hours and days about that. But as I speak with women all over the world, it really does come down to executive presence, your brand management, and your leadership capacity. And that just means meeting people where they are and understanding that one size fits one. We're not all monolithic, we're all different, and we all need different things. And hopefully we're not afraid to ask for it. My career in technology is an interesting one because in the third grade, I decided I was going to be a CPA. And when I got to UMBC, I went to University of Maryland, Baltimore County, they did not have an accounting program. So I majored in information systems management. And so years later, just like Jessica said, years later, who knew that it would be so pervasive? And it's been the absolute right decision. I had the opportunity to work at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. I was a contract technical representative with oversight over our mainframe data center, oversight over the help desk. I went on to work for Motorola, and we did systems integration program management with the radio towers all over the country. So that was really exciting. And then, of course, I had the opportunity to work at KPMG And I worked in advisory services, working on strategic plans, working with, at the time, it was HIPAA and a lot of internal controls work and supporting financial audits. And then had the opportunity to be a chief information officer for Prince George's County government. Whew, those were the best of times and the worst of times. And I say that because when I was at Prince George's County, 9/11 happened, the sniper incident happened, we had an anthrax issue that happened. And so maintaining operations, keeping all of the systems going, when you're under that kind of scrutiny, when you're under that kind of pressure, I think is a lesson that I didn't think I needed to learn, but it was one that has served me in great stead. And now at Oracle, I have the opportunity to speak with leaders across the whole spectrum of industries about artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, big data, talking about things that will help them move their transformation projects forward. And delighted to be an adjunct professor at my alum, which is Carnegie Mellon. I'm doing a CIO certificate program, doing emerging technology and innovation. And so I think it's all about and. There's not an or that we should be limiting ourselves to. We should really open ourselves up to the full possibilities of what we can really accomplish.
Awesome. So I'll just jump into an audience question right now that is with the current circumstances, right? What are some ways that you're keeping your team inspired during these periods of significant change? It could be reorgs, merges, acquisitions, or the current circumstances as COVID-19. We can start with Katie, maybe go around that panel.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with technology is one of our biggest tools that we're using right now. So from the infrastructure perspective, providing all of the connectivity and the tool sets that are allowing, us to turn 150,000 strong workforce to completely almost work from home. Those engagement tools are so vital right now. But I think you also need to sort of explore other ways to provide more engagement, because typically you have a balance, right? You're doing some in person and some virtual. We've gone to completely virtual, so I think we're all having to be creative. We just did a crazy hat day as part of my staff meeting. So the first 10 minutes we were just laughing and joking and getting that camaraderie factor up, keeping everyone's spirits up. And I think it's important when you're doing these things to, inject optimism. We have to keep all of the spirits up, and different countries have different protocols in place, so things are more tightly managed where literally people can't leave their home. So I just think it's very important to pay attention to the people aspect during this time and make sure that you're keeping everyone's spirits up as much as you possibly can. So
Right. Jessica, do you want to add something?
Sure. I think for me, what I've seen in the last probably month or so, but also hearkening back. So, 20 years ago, thinking about September 11th, I was in New York when September 11th happened, which was a tragedy in of itself. And now we're sort of going through this really big tragedy where we are now. For me as a leader, yes, we have all the tools in place and checking in with people. And I think the biggest thing I've been trying to do is, a lot of people, when they see you as an executive leader or a senior leader, you're sort of on this pedestal and you're sort of seen as always being buttoned up and having everything perfect. And I have really tried to make sure that I let people know that I'm human, right? Just like them. I have 3 children, and they're not all under the age of 10. And so if there is a meltdown downstairs, or if they burst in the middle of a call, right, just handling that in the moment and letting people see that you are human, that we're all human, and we're all in this circumstances that are a lot beyond our control. And the other piece is just really checking in on people on a regular basis. So obviously there's a lot of group things and virtual hangouts and virtual happy hours, and those are all good, but I think the one-on-ones are still really critical. It can be challenging if you are overseeing a large organization. So then as a leader of leaders, you should empower your leaders to make sure they're making one-on-one connections. And raising flags and partnering closely with HR to make sure that if you're concerned about someone, You know, I've seen a lot of people posting now, like, don't forget that just because you're working from home, this is not a vacation. It's not as if you don't need a mental break. We talk about health and wellness and self-care, but sometimes you just need to say, I need to take 2 days off because I just need to not be on a computer. And if we as leaders take care and do that for ourselves, and that gives license and sort of helps our people do the same and taking care of themselves. So I think those are some things that I say really sort of the human, and the other piece will be the processes of yesterday are not necessarily the processes of today. So everybody being okay with kind of throwing things out the window and figuring out what's going to work in this interim period, I think is really critical. If we try to stick to the same sort of boxes and parameters that worked pre where we are today, it causes a lot more tension and friction for folks.
Yeah, I love what you said. We are in this together. I myself have 3 kids. So I know what you're talking about. So Kimberly, what do you think about the change, and how do you keep people inspired during these times?
It's interesting. I really like what Jessica said about showing the human side. Whenever I've spoken with people who are in different places in their career, and I'll say to them, because I'm automatically thinking that they want to be the next level. And I can't tell you how many people I've met that would say, no way, because they think their leaders are perfect. And then thinking that their leaders are perfect, they never aspire to go to that next level. So kudos to you, Jessica, for showing that human side and showing that every person could strive to be in the same role that you're in. So that's awesome. And then what I would say about just this environment in general, I think we have to recognize that for some of us, we love working at home. But there are far, many of us, more of us, who would prefer to be around people. So we need to check on people, and we need to make sure that they're okay. And a lot of us are not quarantined with others. Some of us are all alone. And so what I've seen the benefit of in various organizations and also online, there are employee resource organizations, wellness programs, mindfulness programs, programs that remind people to take a deep breath, that it's okay if you've got kids to go and hide in the bathroom just before you come out and work on long division and figure out how to do Common Core math, whatever it is you're homeschooling. Thank goodness my kids are 15 and 17. And I stopped being able to help them do their homework years ago. So I don't have that same pressure, but I do recognize that it's important to ask people, how are you doing? And then stop and listen. Sometimes when people say, how are they doing? If they were to say terrible, the immediate answer coming back is fine. Oh, great, good. That's because we weren't listening. So we have to really listen to people. And just like you said, Jessica, looking for those cues to make sure that we understand if they're not doing okay, and then offer help.
Yeah, definitely. Christine, what do you think about this topic?
Well, I'm trying to add something that we haven't already mentioned. And I think one of the ways I can answer is that as women, we naturally have that gift of multitasking, or what I like to call in the workplace, that work-life integration. And when it comes to technology, being more empathetic and listening to the needs of our clients and how technology can really still keep that human aspect, but at the same time, the advantages and the use of technology. So I guess what I've always done in my leadership style, I have a very open door policy. I'm very hands-on with my team. I'm always asking the first 10 minutes of our one-on-one meetings, how's life? How are your goals? Wanting to know what they are long-term, and still doing that and making sure that we take things week by week, because we don't know what the future is going to hold. So just setting weekly goals and reevaluating them 1 week at a time, and sharing resources with one another, not just like, oh, did you see that this is something out there for stimulus? Oh, did you see this is a great learning tool or platform for your kids as resources and activities that you can do while you're home with them? Did you see this Netflix trial for free, or this for, just sharing resources that makes us all feel like we're in it together, and really being very cognizant of the fact of this, like listening in between the lines, because a lot of times some of our staff and our peers may have a hard time asking for help. So sometimes it's just like volunteering that information and those resources as well can be a really good way of making them feel inclusive, even though we're all separate with social distancing. I think that by coming online and sending a text message or calling or sharing a note or a joke or an inspirational quote, I think it gives us a sense that we're still a community and we're still connected.
Definitely. Yeah. Thanks for all of your input. I think it's very relevant to bring technology together, bring the human aspect, and then and just listen. I really like that advice when you hear from somebody how they're doing, listen and kind of figure out how can we help them in that situation. So I want to dig deep in your individual careers and just like ask specific questions, if that's okay. So the first question is mostly for you, Kimberly and Katie, coming from financial backgrounds and that. What are the key financial decisions that you have to take over time in terms of your leadership strategies, and how has that evolved over time as you've seen the era has changed and things have changed and technology is also changing? So what are the key decisions you've done and what skills are relevant to that?
Are you starting with me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So thank you for that question. Many of you, if you saw my background, saw that, yes, I am a certified public accountant. So I did it. I went back and made sure I did it. And I also had the opportunity to be a chairman of the American Institute of CPAs. And so that was a really exciting time for me because my platform themes were next generation leadership, which I think is really important, and also technology. And so what I am seeing just across the board in organizations of all sizes is this notion that maybe we need to think a little bit more about finance transformation. And that means using robotics process automation, looking at big data in order to get quantifiable and different types of data elements inside your organization from across disparate sources. I think is really, really important. And so leaders, not all, but in most cases, leaders are really thinking about what happens after this. Are they well positioned from their financial systems and business processes are concerned? Are they well positioned to move to new business models? We're like a rubber band now, our whole economy, the whole world, that we've been stretched, and I don't think we're ever going to go back to exactly as we were before. And so making sure you have foundational systems inside your organization is really going to serve you in good stead. At Oracle, we've always talked about transformation, disruption, avoiding it or minimizing it as much as you can. Leaders need to be able to look around corners. And so as an enabler of mission critical functionality in organizations, we have been positioning organizations for not exactly a case like this, because who would have thought, but certainly some scenarios that are difficult. And that means looking at your people, looking at your processes, and also looking at your technology. And so from a people perspective, I would encourage all of us. I know it's difficult. You've got your day job, your homeschooling, you've got elder care, families that you're concerned about, businesses that you're thinking about. Yes, that's all true. But I would encourage all of us to spend at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day. There are courses online that are no cost. Lots of organizations are offering, webinars like this. I would encourage us all to look at our own skill set, look for ways we can differentiate, look for ways that technology can augment and supplement the skills that we have, and then also pay attention to those success skills, the skills for inspiring, motivating, and leading an organization through change and also through difficult times. And so while this scenario could not have been exactly foreseen, I can tell you that organizations have been doing risk modeling that basically did probability analyses around what would happen and what they would do if a situation like this occurred. And so I'm just happy that Oracle has been a leader in this space and has been working with our clients and customers all over the world.
Great. So Katie, from the infrastructure services side of things and just the technology in that area, what do you think are the key skills that are relevant, and then how your leadership skills have been used in that area in the current circumstances and beyond that as well?
Well, let's say that, I'll companies, big and small, have business continuity plans, right? And do you go through the exercises and you go through almost you sort of check the box? You feel like disaster recovery plans, business continuity planning, putting all of these things in place. We just put that into effect. Literally overnight, we had 150,000 folks at the company go into working from home, and really it went off without a hitch. We were able to transition overnight, which ensures that our team members and their families, help drive their safety, right? That was first and foremost for everybody, but also to ensure that we can continue to serve our customer base. So really just seeing that in action and seeing all of this prep work and planning and sort of these things that we go through that are sort of seemed as bureaucracy or overhead. I mean, we really proved that this is essential, right, to us being able to work through something like this, completely unprecedented. And I love what Kimberly said. I think as leaders, especially when you're at the juncture of, I would say, finance and the operations and technology, part of what we're tasked with is being able to anticipate and being able to drive those necessary changes that are going to enable that next wave of technology and how we need to deliver it and how it's going to be consumed. Financial and planning processes, oversight processes, governance processes, those things have to be kept evergreen. They have to stay up with the times, with the technology, and with how we're consuming it and using it. And I feel like as leaders, especially in these functions, part of our job is to anticipate and drive those changes and really question everything. We can't be okay with status quo. We always have to be moving forward and making sure that we're keeping up, because, who would have thought, even 20 years ago that we'd be where we're at today? You have, around the globe, so many people working completely from work from home. Unprecedented, right? So times change, things change. Some things don't, right? People are still people in any way, shape, or form, but all of these things that we're managing just need to be kept up to date. And I think as leaders, it's your job to have the curiosity and to help drive kind of the foresight to anticipate some of these changes and then to make sure that we keep up. So.
Great. Yeah, I think the anticipation piece is really, really relevant. And then for the current times, as you said, they're unprecedented. So the leadership is definitely in limelight these times. So Christine, coming to you, in terms of remote learning and being a leader in that space in SMLA, what are the key things that you think are important to mention for other leaders in that space? Because there's a lot of demand right now, and in general also to, as Kimberly also mentioned, for skill set, this is the time to actually look in and see what are the skill sets that we need to go to. So what is your advice on that? And as a leader, what do you tell other leaders in this similar situation?
Thank you for the question. So SMLA had already had an online presence. We were already offering classes online, and we also had some hybrid opportunities. So we were already prepared when this had happened that, okay, we can pivot. We just weren't expecting at this large scale, especially we do training with our partner with the Army on military bases, and we had to pivot really fast on getting everybody comfortable with our learning management system. We did some training with our instructors so that they could understand all the features to make things a little bit easier for them. Going through some dry runs. We did some pre-recorded videos to help them as well. We did dry runs with our students before classes start, so they don't have that anxiety for those that weren't accustomed with learning online. And then you had those that would call me back and reach out to our team and say, I cannot do this. I have little ones running around. I know I really need the certification, but I just can't right now. And so what I did is I kind of just pivoted and been flexible with saying, look, take the class right now like you're just watching a YouTube video, no matter what's going on around you, hear the material for the first time. Once we're able to get back and open our campuses, I'd love for you to come back at no cost as alumni retraining and take the class again. We've added some more tools that we didn't have to, not just from an educational standpoint, but also from an operational and admissions. We do a lot of assessment testing at our facility. We would, transactions through business, through our credit card terminals. Now we're doing all that online, all of our documents on DocuSign, which is how our state and our accreditation prefers, as opposed to students coming in and signing papers. So from a both an educational platform standpoint as well as an operational, we've done a lot of use of technology and using assessments online as well. One of the things that I did want to mention that we've been able to do is, and it kind of goes back to piggybacking off of some of the questions, is that one of the resources that I feel, even as myself as a leader being pulled in so many directions, I've got 2 little kids at home, is that time management, which has always been something that came really, easy to me with managing my schedule, has become much harder to stay to, as well as our staff and our faculty. And so we've been looking at technology and doing comparative analysis right now for the size of our business, what can we use, what technology tool can we use out there to help our staff, to help our faculty and our kind of students with their time. And so there's a lot out there right now at a very affordable price, depending on how big your enterprise is. But I think that this is a time, as we're sitting at home, if you're by yourself, there's a lot of online platforms out there, depending on your skill set, on your occupation, that you can skill up. We always encourage lifelong learners, and there's a lot on Forbes in terms of IT, of certifications that are out there for free. And there are some that, they're just tidbit high-level overviews and that you can kind of see in terms of career exploration. I've always wanted to take this, but didn't have the time. And so at SMLA, we offer high demand certifications in ERP systems and professional project management, Lean Six Sigma, and even for beginning learners just in Microsoft. So we're really, talking to our vendors, talking to our students and our alumni, letting them use this time to stay focused and busy, just skilling up and getting more, I think really augmenting their resume so that they can be more productive or just even more marketable with the new workforce that's going to be very broad right now. So we want to make you stand out and have stackable certifications.
That's good. So Jessica, the question related the digital media, and as that's in the center of many organizations. So what leadership strategies have you used and how they've changed over time?
Yeah. Well, I love what Kimberly said about leaders have to look around corners. That is just a great quote. I like to talk about leaders needing to have, 1 foot in the present and 1 foot in the future. And definitely as it relates to, technology and digital, being sort of present and understanding what's going to help build efficiencies and help people get their work done today, which is a lot of what Christine just talked about, but also really kind of thinking about the future and what's next, and sort of thinking about how you're going to future plan and continuous learning. Both Kimberly and Christine talked about that as well, right? Finding those things that can help augment and support your skills and prepare you for the future. But as a leader, you need to be sort of at the forefront so that then you can figure out where you need to take your people next. And as I think about how all industries have changed, really in the last 20 years or longer, we've gone from very much being about autonomy and being autonomous, particularly just in terms of how we've gotten work done, but also as leaders, right? So we grew up in these worlds of very sort of top down, I'm the boss, I'm the CEO, I'm the SVP, you do what I tell you to do, right? Or I have the ideas, I've got it, and I've earned my stripes to get here. And we've truly moved to this world of collaboration. And that's not just about how we get work done and Slack and all of these other tools, but it's also about collaboration and leadership. And that's why it's important to build a leadership team around you that you can use as advisors and give you guidance. I love when people say, yeah, some of my people on my team are smarter than me, right? Well, that's okay, because, I'm here to lead the others, but it's important to have those subject matter expertise to give you that advice. And so I think that's something that's really important and that we've seen the shift. And so as leaders, thinking about how you can bounce ideas off of people, excuse me, both from the top and the bottom and in the middle, like not leading from the top, leading from the middle, where you're kind of touching everyone. And I think that's something that's really important and a big shift. And we're going to see more of that moving forward, just kind of given where we are. This crisis has created a little bit of an, excuse me, an equalizer, right, in terms of access in some ways, and power, and also accessibility. And I think for us, particularly a lot of women on the phone, that we can take advantage of this time and opportunity to be prepared for what's coming next, and be prepared for that 1 foot in the future. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I will move towards Slido now to see what our audience has, any other questions or things like that. And I will switch back to Pam also. Thank you so much for the panelists to actually be here and spending the time with us. So let's just see if we have any questions there that we want to tackle as a one last question, and then we'll just move towards advice and the closing remarks. So one question I think which has a lot of votes here is, it's the need has never been greater. What are some meaningful ways you give back within your organization or local community to support women in technology? So maybe if any one of you wants to jump in and answer that.
This is Kimberly. I guess I'll start and say that one of the first things I do with women is just talk about how amazing we are, because so many times we don't really talk ourselves up in our capability or our credibility in the marketplace. We're adding value, and I think it takes each one of us helping each other. And so I always encourage women to support other women. And a great example would be Jessica said something that I thought was awesome. And I said, hey, just like Jessica said, the next time you're in a meeting and someone says it, we know all too often that in meetings, sometimes one of our male colleagues may pick up a thread that maybe Jessica said earlier. How about you be the person that said, you know, that's exactly what Jessica said. Jessica, what were you thinking when you said that? And then put it back to her because it was her idea. So I think, first of all, starts with us. Each one of us needs to take the pledge. I promise to support women when I can, where I can, and how I can. And that's everywhere all the time. And so I am in a number of different organizations where I try to do exactly that. And when I find women in technology, I know that it's a little more challenging because of the path we're walking, where sometimes we're the only one in the room or at the table. And so I want to spend a lot more time with that individual and talk with her and encourage her. So I'm encouraging all of you to please link in with all of us. And if you need that kind of encouragement, we'd be happy to give it to you.
I would just add that we're doing a lot of programs outside of our company. So Girls Who Code, there's a lot of organizations with that sort of flavor, acting as coaches and mentors and encouraging at the younger ages. And also we've adopted at a few universities women who are entering into STEM degree fields, and really just kind of putting ourselves out there as professionals who, you know, came from those fields. You know, we've had successful careers, and just being, again, role models. Typically, you've got a very small percentage of females in those classrooms, in those courses, and the attrition rates are very, very high. So it's important that we get obviously women into those fields to start those degree plans, but it's even more important that they finish them and that they actually enter in the fields that we're hoping they can, you know, add more value to. So we're doing a lot of things that are outside the bounds of our company, and a lot of women are participating in their communities. And I think that's as equally important as the things that we do within our leadership change and in our organizations.
That's really good. I'd like to add to that. So at SMLA, one of the programs in our lines of business that we do is we're the education and operational arm for the SAP Veteran to Work program for the nation. And as some of you guys know, that veterans have a harder time in finding employment when they're transitioning from the military. And I want to say about 50% of my time is spent talking to companies and employers looking for opportunities for our graduates to enter into the workplace in really careers as opposed to just a job. And I always tell them SAP or ERP jobs are one of those that can really lead to long-standing careers. So right now, the way I'm giving back is really staying connected to employers and kind of listening to what their needs have been in terms of solutions and projects that they were on, that they were planning to deploy or they were implementing, and just letting them know that I'm here if they have any questions or if they can volunteer their time in mentoring one of our current students or graduates that are having a tough time and are going to have an even tougher time looking for employment once we're just back out in the open and able to meet face to face again and things are back to normal, God willing. But I think just communicating and motivating and encouraging. Encouraging is very big. I have this whole term that encouragement is putting courage in others. And so building their confidence during these times, helping them defend, helping our veterans defend the skills that they've learned in the military, practice that in mock interviewing. So in May, we're going to be doing for our current class right now at Fort Hood, a mock interviewing panel with some of the employers that we have preferred relationships with, and just helping them keep those skills sharp and just communicating constantly with employers so that once we open back, I'm able to leverage that for transitioning veterans and soldiers and graduates and professionals of our academy.
Okay, so I know we have 6 minutes more to go in this call. Definitely want to make sure that some things happen. Number one, make sure that y'all get everyone's LinkedIn, right? Because if they're saying they're going to advocate for you or teach you how to be a top tier LinkedIn sort of recruit, you definitely want everyone's LinkedIn. You can find it on the community page where you register, or definitely we'll drop it in the chat. Number two, thank you for those who submitted the raffle questions. Pamela is going to pick who's a raffle winner. I'm going to make our leaders, our speakers think of the one last thing that they're going to share with y'all before we go in the next couple of minutes. And then lastly, if you all have not done it already, please think about the word cloud. What was one thing that really resonated with y'all? We will post it in there again. The word cloud is actually just going to be put onto the page of the community event that we had, just so we can remember what happened. So I'm going to give it back over to the speakers for their last word, their last yes. Go out there and rock this world. And then Pamela is going to close it off. Thank you.
I was just saying that one last thing from my side would be to go and wash your hands and, and enjoy this time with your family along with everything else, and be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. Next.
I think one of the things pieces of advice I'd like to leave everybody with is that the comeback is always stronger than the setback. Just remember that.
I think what I would say is that I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore. I have been consistently underestimated probably my entire career. And what I know is this. What I know is we have innate capabilities to showcase our talents, and we can't be afraid to do that. And we can't be afraid to go up against stereotypes and really prove that we deserve our seat at the table. It's not anyone giving us anything. We deserve that seat. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say that, you know, have the courage to put yourself out there. And if you feel that you don't have the courage, find your group, find your tribe, find your network, and I believe you will get courage from that network.
And I will add, dare to dream, but dream with sponsors. So you can have, you know, so the dare to dream part is, yes, you can get to senior leadership, executive leadership, C-suite. You've got to declare it for yourself. I declared a year and a half ago, I want to be in the C-suite. And that really gave me my North Star, my mission, my vision for how I guide my career and my life. But I had to claim it, because for so long I was like, oh, I can't do it. Exactly what was said here about not being able, not thinking that you're capable, right? So dare to dream, but dream with sponsorship, meaning you need the people who are at the table and in the room that make the decisions. It is not just about mentors and coaches. Those are important. I have a lot of those in my life. But what I need and what I will continue to need are people who can make the decisions at the table, right? So find those sponsors and don't be afraid to say, will you sponsor me?
Nice. I love that, Jessica. I love that you mentioned sponsors, because that's exactly where my head was. We need sponsors now more than ever, especially given this current crisis. People want to kind of check out on people development and developing in women in tech. And now more than ever is when we need that help. We need that support. We need sponsors to step up and help us. So thanks for that. So I'd just like to close with a big, thank you. Like I said, when I started, I know that there are many different options that you have in terms of calls and things that you can get on, but thank you for spending this 1 hour with us. We really appreciate it. We have communities that are virtual, so there's like really no excuse for you not to plug in. We can't miss you. So join us. Thanks. Over to you, Natasha.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe Pamela is going to do the virtual raffle. We also have additional webinars coming up. If you are a leader, pay attention to the monthly technical leaders call we have organized by Bushra, and you probably should know where to find me, natasha.g@anitab.org. Again, let's see who won something, some free, coaching, right? And then I'm up to another call myself. All right, tell us who the winners are. Come on, who won?
Yeah. So really cool. Let me share.
Yeah, you definitely have to go. But if we could find out who won, that's
Yep. So two really quick things. One is, the good news is everyone on the call is a winner for the mindfulness session. So on Friday, April the 24th at 5 o'clock Central, we are going to have a mindfulness session, and everyone who's on the call, we're going to get emails and email you the information for that. Okay. In terms of the coaching session, I just have first names here, so I'm going to have to look at closer for the emails. So for the executive coaching session, we have Elise, and then for the career coaching session with Giselle, we have Rosanna.
Whoop, whoop. All right, y'all, have a great day.
Great way to end.
All right, bye.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Stay
everyone.
safe, stay blessed.
Thanks. Bye.